Hey folks, welcome back. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like someone walked away too easily, like they never looked back, as if you never really mattered? Maybe they moved on so fast it left you questioning everything. And yet, something deep inside tells you that things aren't as simple as they seem. Here's what most people don't realize. Just because they don't show it doesn't mean they don't feel it. They might act indifferent. They might pretend they don't care. But the truth? Something is eating them up inside. And that something, it's you. You see, people are wired to crave what they can't have, to obsess over what is no longer within reach. It's human psychology. But the biggest mistake people make is believing what they see on the surface. When someone pulls away, they want you to believe they're fine. They want you to think they've moved on effortlessly. But beneath that facade, there's a storm brewing. In this video, we're breaking down the psychology behind it. Why they lost interest. Why their silence messes with your head. And more importantly, how to flip the script and make them chase. If you've ever wanted to understand why people regret walking away and how you can turn the tables effortlessly, this one's for you. And hey, if you're serious about mastering this mindset, consider subscribing. There's more to this game than meets the eye, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Let's get started. Number 1. Why they lost interest. Hey folks, let's be real for a second. One of the worst feelings is watching someone who was once obsessed with you slowly lose interest. One moment, they're all over you, texting first, making plans, showing excitement, and then it starts fading. The replies get slower, the energy shifts, and suddenly you're left wondering, what happened? What did I do wrong? Let's clear one thing up right now. It's not always about you. People don't just lose interest randomly. It happens for a reason, and if you don't understand why, you'll find yourself stuck in a cycle of chasing people who have already checked out. So why does this happen? What makes someone go from being deeply interested to feeling indifferent? The answer lies in psychology, and it's not what most people think. When someone starts to pull away, most people assume they need to try harder. They start overcompensating, texting more, planning more, doing more to keep the other person engaged. But interest isn't lost because of a lack of effort. It's lost because of predictability. The human brain is wired to seek novelty and challenge. This is called the dopamine reward system. We crave what feels new, what feels exciting, and more importantly, what feels uncertain. When things become too predictable, we lose the thrill. And that's exactly what happens in relationships. Think about the start of any connection. There's mystery, uncertainty, and excitement. You don't know what's going to happen next, and that keeps your brain engaged. But as soon as you become too available, too easy to read, or too accommodating, that excitement starts fading. The other person stops craving you because they already feel like they have you. This is why being too nice, too giving, and too available can actually push people away. Not because kindness is a bad thing, but because when something is given too easily, it loses its perceived value. Here's something most people don't realize. The more you chase, the more they pull away. If you text them first all the time, they stop wondering if you will. If you always say yes to plans, they stop questioning whether you're available. If you constantly show interest, they don't have to work for your attention. And the second someone feels like they don't have to work for something, they stop valuing it. This is why the best way to keep someone's interest is not to give them unlimited access to you. It's to make sure they feel like they could lose you if they don't step up. And that's where most people go wrong. They think that giving more will make the other person appreciate them more. But in reality, it has the opposite effect. People crave what they feel they can't fully have. This is why scarcity creates value. Look at luxury brands. Why do people pay thousands for a bag? Not because it's practical, but because it's exclusive. The same concept applies to relationships. If you are always available, always responding instantly, always putting them first, you're telling their subconscious that your attention is easy to get. And what's easy to get? It's easy to take for granted. The solution is not to pull away to punish them. You pull away to rebalance the dynamic. Instead of asking, how can I make them like me again? Ask yourself, how can I shift my energy back to myself? How can I become more unpredictable in a way that builds attraction? Am I giving too much too soon? Because the truth is, interest isn't lost because they found someone better. It's lost because they stopped feeling like they had to earn you. Now, if you feel like someone is losing interest in you, the worst thing you can do is panic and overcompensate. Instead, here's what you do. Stop chasing. Let them feel your absence. Shift your energy elsewhere. Invest in yourself, your goals, your mindset, your personal growth. Create a life they want to be part of, instead of making them the center of your world. Because here's what will happen. They'll feel it. They'll notice the shift. They'll realize that something about you has changed. And that's when they start wondering about you again. They won't admit it. They'll act like they don't care. But trust me, they feel it. If you've ever experienced someone pulling away, drop a comment below with, I shift my energy back to me. And let's make sure this never happens again. And if you're serious about mastering this mindset, subscribe now, because what's coming next, it's even more powerful. Number 2, why you feel broken. Hey folks, let's talk about something real. That feeling of being completely shattered after someone walks away. You know what I'm talking about. The emptiness, the overthinking, the late-night thoughts that make you wonder if you'll ever feel normal again. It's that deep ache in your chest when you realize they're no longer thinking about you the way you're thinking about them. But here's the truth. You are not broken. You only feel broken. And the difference between the two? It's everything. Feeling broken is not the same as being broken. One is a temporary emotional state. The other is a belief that something is fundamentally wrong with you. And right now, your mind is making you believe the latter. When someone leaves, especially someone you cared about deeply, your brain goes into panic mode. It starts looking for explanations, replaying memories, analyzing every detail to figure out what went wrong. This is because the human mind hates uncertainty. It would rather have a painful truth than an unanswered question. This is why you feel obsessed with the idea of closure. You think that if you could just understand why they left, the pain would go away. But the hard truth? Closure doesn't come from answers. It comes from acceptance. You feel broken because your brain is treating this loss as a threat to your identity. When someone you love walks away, it's not just about losing them. It's about losing the version of yourself that existed with them. And that's terrifying. But here's the key. You were whole before them. You are whole without them. The feeling of being broken is just your mind adjusting to a new reality. It's temporary. It's not who you are. Have you ever noticed that heartbreak actually hurts, physically? Like a weight in your chest, a sinking feeling in your stomach, an actual, tangible ache? That's because your brain processes emotional pain in the same way it processes physical pain. This is why breakups and rejection feel unbearable. Your brain is sending distress signals as if you are experiencing actual bodily harm. It's also why people crave validation after being abandoned. It's a survival response. Your mind is trying to fix the loss by seeking external reassurance. But this is where most people go wrong. They try to numb the pain instead of understanding it. They jump into distractions, rebound relationships, or endless scrolling on social media, hoping it will make them forget. But avoiding pain doesn't heal you. Facing it does. So, if distractions don't work, what does? How do you stop feeling broken? First, stop romanticizing the past. The mind has a way of filtering memories, making them seem better than they actually were. If you only focus on the good moments, of course, you'll feel like you lost something perfect. But reality check, if it was perfect, you wouldn't be here feeling like this. Second, Detach from the idea that this pain defines you. Feeling abandoned or unworthy isn't a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of your attachment to someone who wasn't meant to stay. Their departure doesn't lower your value. It only reveals their inability to appreciate it. Third, focus on rebuilding your identity outside of them. When people leave, they take the version of ourselves that existed in that relationship. And that's why the pain feels so deep. It's not just about them. It's about losing a part of ourselves. But here's where your power lies. You get to decide who you become next. The Stoics believed that suffering isn't caused by events themselves, but by our interpretation of them. In other words, it's not what happened to you that's breaking you. It's the way you're perceiving it. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" shift your mindset to, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of thinking, "I'll never find someone like them again," reframe it to, "I will never let myself feel this dependent on someone again." Pain is a teacher, but only if you're willing to listen. Every moment you spend dwelling on the past is a moment stolen from your future. The longer you hold on to what's gone, the longer you delay becoming the person you're meant to be. If you take one thing away from this, let it be this. You don't need them to feel whole again. You were whole before them, and you will be whole without them. You feel broken because your mind is resisting change. But growth never comes from staying the same. It comes from adapting, evolving, and realizing that your happiness was never meant to be dependent on someone else. So ask yourself, are you going to let this pain define you, or are you going to use it to transform yourself? The choice is yours. Drop a comment below with, "I take back my power," if you're done feeling broken over someone who doesn't deserve to control your emotions. And if you're ready to take this even further, make sure to subscribe, because the next move, it's the real game changer. Number 3, detachment, your silent power. Hey folks, let's talk about something that most people struggle with. Detachment. If you've ever felt stuck in your emotions, constantly overanalyzing someone's actions, or feeling controlled by the presence or absence of a person in your life, this is for you. Detachment isn't about being cold or uncaring. It's about learning to hold your power, no matter what happens. Most people believe that caring deeply means holding on tightly, that the more invested you are, the more valuable you become to someone else. But the truth is, the more emotionally dependent you are, the more vulnerable you become to disappointment and rejection. When your self-worth is tied to how someone else treats you, you've already lost control. Think about it. Why do people crave what feels out of reach? Why do we value things that seem scarce? It's because human nature is wired to desire what is uncertain. The moment something is easily available, it loses its appeal. That's exactly how attachment works. The more you need someone, the more they feel they can take you for granted. When someone senses that you can't function without them, it creates an imbalance. You become the one who gives, while they become the one who decides how much they receive. This is why emotional dependence often leads to being undervalued. Detachment changes that dynamic completely. True detachment doesn't mean shutting people out or pretending not to care. It means caring without clinging, loving without fearing loss, and being present without losing yourself. When you master detachment, you stop seeking validation because you already know your worth. You stop overanalyzing their actions because you realize that their choices don't define you. And most importantly, you stop reacting to every emotional trigger because you know that your peace is something no one else should have control over. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with detachment is that they confuse it with indifference. But being indifferent means not caring at all, while detachment means caring in a way that doesn't compromise your self-respect. When you detach, you still experience emotions, but you don't let them dictate your actions. You still love, But you don't let that love make you desperate. If you've ever found yourself obsessing over why someone hasn't texted back, why they seem distant, or whether they still care, take a step back. Ask yourself, am I reacting from a place of confidence or insecurity? When you are truly detached, their silence doesn't shake you, their distance doesn't make you anxious, and their attention isn't something you need to validate yourself. People often don't realize the power of detachment until they practice it. When you stop reacting, you become unpredictable. When you stop chasing, you naturally attract. It's not manipulation, it's energy. The moment you stop relying on someone else to complete you, they start seeing you differently. The best way to develop detachment is by shifting your focus inward. Build a life that excites you. Pursue goals that give you purpose. Spend time with people who make you feel alive. When you are deeply invested in your own growth, you naturally become less affected by what others do or don't do. And here's the irony. When you no longer seek validation, it starts coming to you effortlessly. The people who once overlooked you start paying attention. The ones who took you for granted begin to wonder why you're no longer reacting the way you used to. Detachment shifts the power dynamic in your favor without you having to do anything except focus on yourself. So the next time you feel that emotional pull, pause. Ask yourself if responding is necessary or if you're just reacting out of habit. The strongest people aren't the ones who win arguments or get the last word. They're the ones who can walk away without looking back. That kind of strength is rare, and that's why it's so powerful. If this message resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Drop "I choose my peace" below if you're ready to detach from what no longer serves you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time, because what's coming next will make everything even clearer. Number 4. Rebuild yourself like a Stoic. Hey folks, if you're here, chances are you've been through something tough. A breakup, a betrayal, or maybe just that feeling of losing yourself in the process of loving someone else. It happens to the best of us. But here's the thing. This isn't where your story ends. This is where it truly begins. Pain is a catalyst. It either breaks you down or builds you into something greater. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't run from pain. They didn't numb it or drown in it. They used it. They transformed suffering into wisdom, rejection into redirection, and loss into the fuel for their greatest growth. And that's exactly what you're going to do. Right now, you might feel like everything has fallen apart. But what if I told you that falling apart is the first step to rebuilding something even stronger? The version of yourself that got hurt wasn't your final form. It was just one phase of your evolution. And now, you get to construct something unshakable. Rebuilding yourself like a Stoic means shifting your focus inward. Too often, people waste their energy trying to prove something to the person who hurt them. They chase closure, validation, or some kind of acknowledgement. But here's the truth. You don't need an apology to move on. You don't need their regret to heal. The only thing you need is a commitment to yourself. Think about this. The time and energy you spend dwelling on the past could be used to build a future that excites you. Instead of obsessing over why they left, why not focus on becoming the person they'll wish they had appreciated? Instead of waiting for them to miss you, why not build a life so fulfilling that their absence feels irrelevant? The first step to rebuilding yourself is detaching from what was. This means accepting that the past cannot be changed, and that closure is something you give to yourself. Every moment you spend replaying old conversations or analyzing their actions is a moment stolen from your future. Let it go. Next, you need to strengthen your mind. Stoics trained themselves to remain calm in the face of adversity. They practiced discipline, self-control, and emotional resilience. This means no more reacting impulsively, No more emotional outbursts, and no more letting someone else dictate your self-worth. You are in control now. One of the most powerful Stoic exercises is voluntary discomfort. It means intentionally putting yourself in situations that test your patience, discipline, and mental toughness. Why? Because growth comes from challenge. When you push yourself beyond your comfort zone, whether it's through physical training, learning something new, or breaking bad habits, you rewire your brain to handle adversity with strength rather than fear. And let's talk about emotional discipline. How often do we let our emotions control us? How often do we react instead of respond? The Stoics believed that true power comes from mastering your emotions, not being ruled by them. This doesn't mean suppressing what you feel. It means acknowledging your emotions without letting them dictate your actions. Now, here's the most important part: building a life that fulfills you. Too many people make the mistake of trying to move on by distracting themselves with temporary pleasures. They seek validation in others, jump into new relationships, or fill their time with meaningless activities. But true healing isn't about distraction. It's about creation. It's about creating a life so rich, so exciting, so full of purpose that looking back is no longer an option. Start setting goals that are entirely for you. Focus on your physical health, your financial growth, your mental well-being. Read, learn, evolve. Surround yourself with people who challenge and inspire you. Every single day, take one step toward becoming the best version of yourself. Not to prove anything to anyone else, but because you owe it to yourself. And here's the thing about rebuilding. You don't have to wait until you feel ready. Most people make the mistake of thinking that healing has to come before action. But in reality, action is what creates healing. The more you focus on your growth, the less power your past holds over you. If you're at a point where you feel lost, start here. Decide that your future matters more than your past. Decide that your happiness isn't dependent on anyone else. Decide that no matter what happened, you will rise. Because at the end of the day, no one is coming to save you. You save yourself. If you're ready to take control and rebuild yourself like a Stoic, drop a comment below with "I rise stronger," and let's commit to this journey together. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because the next step, it's going to change everything. Number 5. Going silent makes them obsessed. Hey folks, let's talk about something that most people underestimate: the power of silence. If you've ever been in a situation where someone pulled away, treated you as an option, or took you for granted, your instinct might have been to explain, plead, or try to make them see your worth. But here's the hard truth. Words rarely change people. Silence does. There's something deeply psychological about the moment you remove your energy from someone's life. When you stop giving them attention, validation, or reassurance, they begin to feel the emptiness of your absence. They may not admit it, they may not show it, but deep down, they start wondering why you're no longer reacting. And the moment that happens, you become a mystery. And mystery is magnetic. People don't obsess over what they fully understand. They don't chase what is predictable. The mind is wired to crave what feels just out of reach. And nothing makes someone rethink their actions more than the sudden realization that they no longer have access to you. Going silent isn't about manipulation. It's not about playing games. It's about shifting your energy back to yourself instead of wasting it on someone who isn't appreciating it. Silence is powerful because it forces them to deal with their own thoughts. It makes them reflect on how they treated you, and more importantly, it makes them question whether you've moved on. Think about the last time someone ignored you. Even if you weren't that interested in them, didn't it make you pause? Didn't it trigger that little voice in your mind asking, why aren't they responding? Did I do something wrong? Have they found someone else? That's how the human brain works. It fills in gaps with assumptions, and most of the time, Those assumptions create doubt, regret, and curiosity. The mistake most people make when someone distances themselves is trying to fix the situation through words. They think if they explain how much they care, it will change things. But the more you talk, the more predictable you become, and predictability kills attraction. When you go silent, you disrupt that pattern. You remove the comfort of knowing that you'll always be there. And suddenly, the person who thought they could take their time, who believed they had control over the situation, is left wondering what changed. That's when the obsession starts. Now, let's be clear. Silence works best when it comes from a place of genuine detachment. If you're constantly checking their social media, overanalyzing their actions, or waiting for them to notice your absence, you haven't really gone silent. True silence isn't just about not speaking. It's about shifting your focus away from them entirely. One of the biggest reasons silence is so effective is because it forces a shift in power. In any dynamic, the person who is most emotionally invested has the least control. But when you go silent, you reclaim that control. You stop playing by their rules. You stop waiting. And once they sense that they no longer have the same hold over you, they start feeling the loss. And here's where it gets interesting. Most people don't realize what they had until it's gone. As long as you're there, explaining, reaching out, making excuses for them, they have no reason to reflect. But the moment you remove your presence, they are forced to sit with their own thoughts. Some will try to act unaffected, pretending like your silence doesn't bother them. But trust me, it does. No one is immune to the effects of losing access to someone who once cared. Even if they don't reach out immediately, the uncertainty will eat away at them. But here's the real magic of silence. It's not about them. It's about you. It's about regaining your emotional control, rebuilding your self-respect, and refusing to give your energy to people who don't value it. So, the next time you're tempted to break your silence, ask yourself, is this coming from a place of power or desperation? Because the moment you chase, you lose. But when you let go, when you shift your focus back to yourself, you win every time. If this message hit home, drop a comment below with, "I choose silence," and commit to taking back your power. And if you're serious about mastering this mindset, hit subscribe, because what comes next will change the way you see everything. Number 6. Flip the script. Make them chase. Hey folks, let's talk about something that most people get wrong. The power dynamic in relationships. Too often, people find themselves in a position where they are the ones chasing, overthinking, and trying to prove their worth. But what if you could flip the script? What if instead of being the one waiting for their attention, you became the one they couldn't stop thinking about? The truth is, attraction doesn't work the way most people think it does. It's not about proving your worth to someone. It's not about constantly reminding them how much you care. The real key to making someone chase you is understanding human psychology, and more importantly, understanding how scarcity and value shape desire. Let's break it down. Have you ever noticed how people want what they can't have? How suddenly, the moment someone seems less interested, they become more attractive. It's not a coincidence. It's how our minds are wired. We value what feels just out of reach, and when something is easily available, it loses its appeal. So, how do you flip the script? How do you shift from being the one who chases to the one who is chased? It starts with one simple mindset shift. Stop proving yourself and start valuing yourself. Most people go wrong by trying too hard. They text first, they over-explain, they try to create attraction through effort. But attraction isn't built through effort. It's built through presence. It's built through the energy you carry, the way you carry yourself, and most importantly, the boundaries you set. If you want someone to chase you, They need to feel like your attention is something earned, not given freely. This doesn't mean playing games. It doesn't mean being manipulative. It means recognizing that you are the prize and acting accordingly. One of the biggest mistakes people make is making someone their priority before that person has truly earned it. They overinvest emotionally, thinking that giving more will make the other person appreciate them. But in reality, the more you give before someone is truly invested, the less they value it. To flip the script, you need to shift your focus away from them and back to yourself. The reason people chase is that they feel they might lose something valuable. If your entire world revolves around them, there's no sense of loss, no urgency, no need for them to fight for your attention. But when you become someone who is genuinely busy, fulfilled, and hard to reach, you create the kind of dynamic that naturally pulls people toward you. Have you ever noticed how the people who are the most confident, the most self-sufficient, and the least reactive are the ones who seem to have others gravitate toward them? That's not an accident. Confidence and detachment create an aura of mystery, and mystery is what makes people chase. Here's a simple but powerful shift. Start prioritizing your own growth over their validation. Instead of wondering if they're thinking about you, ask yourself, am I becoming someone I admire? Instead of overanalyzing their actions, ask, what can I do today to build the kind of life that excites me? When you stop seeking validation, something interesting happens. You become more attractive without even trying. Why? Because people are drawn to those who don't need them. They are intrigued by those who are secure in their own value. This is why so many people who go no contact suddenly find that the person who ignored them is now reaching out. It's not magic, it's human psychology. The moment you stop chasing, you give them space to feel your absence. And in that absence, they start wondering why you're no longer seeking them out. That's when they start to chase. So if you're tired of being the one who always initiates, who always gives more, who always feels like they have to win someone's attention, it's time to shift your mindset. Start seeing yourself as the prize. Start acting like someone who doesn't need validation. Start living in a way that makes people feel lucky to be in your presence. And most importantly, be willing to walk away from anything that doesn't match your worth. When you carry yourself with this kind of confidence, when you stop reacting emotionally and start moving with intention, you will notice a shift. The energy around you changes. The people who once took you for granted start seeing you differently. And suddenly, the dynamic flips. They start wondering if they can still have you. So ask yourself, are you done chasing? Are you ready to step into your power? If so, drop a comment below with, I choose my value, and let's make this shift together. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because once you master this, everything changes. Number 7, the ultimate test. Will they return? Hey folks, let's talk about something that keeps a lot of people stuck, waiting for someone to come back. You've probably wondered at some point, will they ever realize what they lost? Will they ever regret leaving? It's a question that lingers in the back of your mind, especially when someone you cared about walks away without a second thought. But here's the real test. It's not about them. It's about you. Because the real question isn't whether they'll return, but whether, if they do, you'll even want them back. Most people get caught in this cycle of waiting, overanalyzing every little sign, hoping that one day this person will come back with regret in their eyes. But the reality is, the moment you stop waiting is the moment you take back your power. If they do return, it won't be because you begged, pleaded, or waited around. It will be because they felt the weight of your absence. People come back not because they suddenly had an epiphany. They come back because something in the dynamic shifted. Maybe they see you thriving without them. Maybe they realize they no longer have control over your emotions. Or maybe they simply took you for granted and assumed you'd always be there. And when they do return, it's rarely with a heartfelt apology. It's usually something subtle, a random text, a comment on social media, a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" They test the waters first. They want to see if they still have access to you without fully admitting they messed up. So here's the test, not for them, but for you. What do you do when they come back? Do you immediately respond, excited that they finally noticed your worth? Or do you pause and ask yourself if this person still aligns with the person you've become? The mistake most people make is assuming that if someone returns, it means they've changed. But more often than not, they come back because they miss the attention, not because they're ready to offer something real. This is where you have to be smart. If someone left when it was convenient for them, if they chose to walk away instead of work through things, what does their return really mean? Are they back because they truly value you now, or are they just feeling lonely? How you respond defines the power dynamic. If you let them back in without hesitation, you send a message that they can come and go as they please. But if you take a step back, observe, and let them prove their intentions, you show them that your time and energy are not freely given anymore. And what if they never return? Then you still win, because the real victory was never about getting them back. It was about outgrowing the need for them to. The ultimate test wasn't whether they'd come back, but whether you'd grow enough to no longer need them to. So don't wait, don't chase, don't let your worth be tied to someone else's decisions. Keep moving forward, because when you stop waiting, that's when you truly start living. If you're ready to move forward and focus on yourself, drop "I choose myself" in the comments below. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because once you embrace this mindset, everything changes. Number 8. Master an unshakable mindset. Hey folks, let's talk about something that separates those who struggle from those who thrive. Having an unshakable mindset. When life throws challenges your way, when people disappoint you, when things don't go as planned, how do you respond? Do you break down? Do you let your emotions control you? Or do you stand firm, unbothered, knowing that nothing outside of you has the power to shake who you are? Most people go through life reacting. They let other people's actions determine their happiness. If someone treats them well, they feel good. If someone ignores them, they feel worthless. But here's the truth. The person who controls your emotions controls you. And if you give that power away, you will always be at the mercy of external circumstances. The first step in mastering an unshakable mindset is detaching from external validation. When you stop seeking approval from others, you start living for yourself. That means not letting someone else's opinion dictate your self-worth. It means not feeling the need to prove anything to anyone. The moment you realize that your value doesn't decrease just because someone fails to see it, you become untouchable. But let's be real, it's easier said than done. We're wired to want connection, to seek belonging. The problem is when that desire turns into dependence. If you feel like you need someone's attention or validation to feel good about yourself, you've already lost control. Because the moment they pull away, your confidence disappears with them. So how do you become unshakable? You build yourself from the inside out. You develop a mindset so strong that nothing external can break it. That starts with self-discipline. When you train yourself to do the hard things, to stay focused, to remain calm under pressure, you build resilience. Resilience is what allows you to stand firm no matter what's happening around you. Another key factor: emotional control. People who are easily triggered, who react impulsively, who let their emotions dictate their actions. They are easy to manipulate. The Stoics knew this well. They practiced emotional detachment, not to suppress feelings, but to avoid being ruled by them. You can feel everything without reacting to everything. And when you do that, you become powerful. One of the biggest shifts you can make is learning to embrace discomfort. Most people run from pain, avoid challenges, and seek the easy way out. But strength isn't built in comfort. If you want an unshakable mindset, you have to welcome adversity. You have to see every hardship as a test, every setback as an opportunity to grow. When you adopt this mindset, nothing can truly shake you, because you no longer see obstacles as problems, but as fuel for your evolution. Let's talk about expectations. One of the biggest reasons people feel disappointed, hurt, or frustrated is because they expect things to go a certain way. They expect people to treat them well. They expect relationships to last. They expect others to see their worth. But expectations create attachment, and attachment creates suffering. The more you expect from others, the more power you give them over your emotions. The solution? Detach from expectations. Hope for the best, but prepare for anything. Don't rely on external factors for your peace of mind. Instead, train yourself to be adaptable. The more flexible you are, the less anything can shake you. When you don't expect anything from others, you stop being disappointed. And when you stop being disappointed, you start living with true freedom. Here's something most people don't realize. An unshakable mindset isn't just about being strong. It's about being calm. It's about moving through life with a sense of quiet confidence, knowing that no matter what happens, you'll be fine. You don't overreact. You don't panic. You don't beg for people's attention. You simply exist in your power, unbothered by the chaos around you. And that's what makes you truly attractive, not just in relationships, but in life. People are drawn to those who are grounded, who aren't easily swayed, who hold their own no matter what. When you reach this level, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop overthinking and start trusting yourself. And that's when everything changes. So ask yourself, are you ready to be unshakable? If you are, drop "I own my mind" in the comments below. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because once you master this, no one will ever have power over you again. Number 9. The final truth. They'll regret it. Hey folks, let's talk about something people don't want to admit. Regret. They may never say it out loud. They may never text you, call you, or openly acknowledge it. But deep down, there will be a moment when they realize exactly what they lost. And by the time they do, it won't even matter to you anymore. Regret doesn't hit instantly. At first, they might feel relief, thinking they made the right decision. They may be out there, living life, acting like they never looked back. But time has a way of revealing the truth. Because while they may be enjoying the temporary high of freedom or distraction, reality always catches up. And when it does, that's when the regret starts creeping in. See, people don't regret losing someone until they feel the absence. When they know you're still emotionally available, still hoping, still waiting, it doesn't hit them. But the moment they realize you've truly moved on, that's when it stings. That's when it starts to sink in that they let go of someone they'll never find again. Most people think the best revenge is proving yourself, making them see what they lost. But the truth is, the best revenge is indifference. The moment they feel that you no longer care, that they have no access to your emotions, that's when they truly feel the loss. Think about it. Regret is a slow burn. It starts when they see you doing better, when they hear about you from mutual friends, when they check your social media and realize you're thriving. They wonder if they made a mistake. They start questioning their choices. They might not say it, but in their quiet moments, they think about you. And here's what makes it worse for them. They know they can't come back the same way. They might try, they might test the waters, but deep down, they feel the shift. They feel that you're no longer the person who would accept them so easily. That's when regret turns into something deeper, self-doubt. They start wondering if they misjudged you, if they underestimated your strength, if they threw away something rare. Because the truth is, real connection isn't easy to find. People chase the next best thing, thinking there's always something better out there. But when they realize that what they had with you was special, that's when regret becomes unavoidable. And the irony? By the time they regret it, you've already outgrown them. You no longer need their validation. You've built a life that doesn't revolve around them. You've become someone so secure, so self-sufficient, that their absence no longer affects you. That's the power of detachment. That's the real victory. It's not about making them see your worth. It's about reaching a point where their opinion no longer matters. Because once you stop needing closure, once you stop waiting for them to realize what they lost, you've already won. So, if you're still wondering whether they'll regret it, let me tell you, they will. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, when they least expect it, they'll feel it. And by then, you'll be too far ahead to care. If you've ever outgrown someone who underestimated you, drop "I've moved on" in the comments below. And that's it, folks. The truth is, people will regret losing someone who was real, but by the time they realize it, you'll already be on a different path, one that no longer includes them. The real power isn't in waiting for their regret, but in becoming someone so fulfilled that it doesn't even matter. If this message resonated with you, drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more insights on Stoicism, self-mastery, and personal growth. Until next time, stay strong, stay grounded, and keep moving forward.